Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios Brisbane on 102.1 FM.
And broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Z Games.
With 10 years experience and over 500 episodes,
Z Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture.
Want to reach out? Message us on Facebook at ZEDGamesAU.
That's right, you are listening to Z Games. This is 4ZZZ. I am Rani.
I'm
And
Paul.
Yep.
I just took the
we're
initiative.
going that
Jesus.
way. Okay.
I'm Caroline.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That was, okay,
It's
well.
technically episode 666, at least on our internal count.
My throat is destroyed now.
so-
Although, if you're listening to us on Z Digital, I believe the episode number is different.
Like 2 behind or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
So,
Either way,
you'll get there.
praise Satan, all that, blah, 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 blah,
Or like whatever,
or whatever evil deity you believe
angel
in.
numbers is the other thing, that's a thing. Anyway, this is Z Games. We're gonna talk about games vaguely. I didn't plan a 666 themed episode. I did just go chaos mode, which
Like always,
is
yes.
really just me not planning anything. So, we have the news
We do.
like every week. I'm going to mix it up a bit. I'm going to do a book review.
That's
And Paul, whose Discord is very rudely interrupting us.
Yeah. Laptops should have a mute button on them, Paul. What are you doing, you monster?
Paul, what are you doing?
I am going to be reviewing games that are demonic in some way, but not. They're kind of friendly demonic, but sad.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Sad game.
I'll take that.
Namely, the newly released Birth.
The newly released Birth.
Is that
Okay.
like a birth simulator?
No, it's about making a friend out of dead bodies.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
Fun.
is that I'm presuming that's what you've been playing recently?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm always playing a lot of things recently.
Yeah,
but
you
yes,
are. Every time
yes,
I open
finished
Steam,
that.
it's like, Paul is blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, what? Okay, yep, cool.
You know what I had to start playing yesterday?
What?
Ghostmaster.
Ghostmaster.
From 2003, it's a strategy game where you have to haunt houses. It's like, oh, look, the teenagers are having a slumber party. I guess I'll put the chain ghost in the basement and lure them down there and give them a spook.
I would enjoy doing that.
Yeah. And then I found out one of my PR guys worked on it. I'm like, wow, this is small world. I love it.
I love that. I also like to just randomly scare people in real life. I don't think any of my housemates have learned that yet. Oh,
well,
no, I did get Zara. I did get Zara one day. I was sitting with the puzzle, and they were not expecting me to be there.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, I
Snuck
think,
up behind them and said, inflation.
yeah, something like that. I think
The
that
economic one or the
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I will drop that.
I think that we're gonna listen to some news now.
Yeah.
How does that sound?
I'll allow it.
You'll allow it?
Yeah.
All
right, well,
for it.
All
What
right.
if we're on YouTube?
Here's some news.
With more scoops than a big bowl of ice cream, here's this week's gaming news. More Sims than The Sims. During a recent announcement showcase, Paradox Interactive has hinted at a new game called Life by You, which is very much in the style of The Sims. The reason this news is turning heads is that it's being developed by Rod Humble, the former head of Sims and CEO of Second Life studio Linden Labs. So there's a lot of excitement about how this could be a real contender for the crown of virtual life simulators. However, only a short teaser trailer has been released so far, and there's currently a limited information available about the game. Full trailer and further details are expected in the coming weeks. eShop shutdown. Everybody loves shopping on the Nintendo eShop, which is especially bad news for 3DS and Wii U owners. Nintendo are shutting down access to this service for these systems on March 27. Apparently, the little hamster that powers the server is being retired and taken to a nice farm. So you have a few short weeks to go on eShop and buy those 3DS games you've always wanted. Or just hack the machine and download whatever you want forever. Wait, did I say that out loud? Oh, speaking of the Wii U, word's floating around the internet that Wii U devices are prone to bricking, or terminally failing to turn on, if they're not used for extended periods of time. Like, several years worth of time. And let's be honest, that's pretty easy to do with the Wii U. So if you're one of the dozens of Wii U owners out there, maybe check in on it and see how it's doing. Cheating's a drag, man. Battlestate Games, the developers of the tremendously popular war simulator Escape from Tarkov, have done something unusual about people who cheat in their game. Not content with just banning them outright, they've released the names of over 6,000 players who they say are using mods to cheat and otherwise make legit players' lives worse. I'm sure the parents of Cool Dude 69 are just dying from the shame of their son has brought upon their family. It's an interesting use of time from the development team who once claimed that adding female characters to their game would, check notes, just be too much work. Playdates are getting more expensive. Hey, remember that cool little yellow, tiny little handheld console with a crank? It was called the Playdate, and it came out, and then no one could get it because it all sold out really quickly, and it's still really hard to get. And, well, anyway, the news is that it's getting a price increase. That's right, an increase. It's going up from $180 US to $200 US. And you still can't buy one. Well, you can, but you can order one. Anyway, to help make up for this though, Panic, the people behind the Playdate, have released a new on-device shopping network called Catalog. And it comes with 2 new free games, including this little adorable one called Recommendation Dog, where you're a little dog that runs a temp agency. It's very cute. And now, get your credit cards ready for these upcoming game releases. Today, March 9, we got Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, the Xbox Original, hey, and even the Switch. Tiny Troopers Global Ops on PC, PS5, Xbox Series, Xbox Original, and Switch. Train Life, a railway simulator for Switch, and Accuse for the Commodore 64. On March 14, we have Escape for the Red Planet on PC, and next week, Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon on Switch. And that's it for this week's gaming news. Back to the studio.
Thank you.
We're in the studio.
We are in
That's
the
us.
studio.
Hi.
You know what I think is fitting about, just before we talk about the news, you know what I think is fitting about us doing 666 in this studio as if we do the show in a different studio ever. Well, we used to be in the other one, but it's just that this studio is cursed, especially when Paul and I are in it.
Exactly. We've said several explosions have happened. It's great. Yeah.
Anyway, the news was kind of interesting.
I was very excited that Cameron last minute added all Playdate stuff because I accused him of neglecting my Playdate lust.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he put it in. Yeah. So it is funny. They're increasing the price because they're like, yeah. You might have noticed the world over the last few years. It's $20. We need it. But also, it's not till next month. So if you really want to put in an order, you can. Also, it's such a niche device. It's like 10 of you care. But it's awesome. The new games are cool. And there's more stuff happening.
Does anybody still have a DS?
Yeah, I got my DS.
I don't still
I've got my
have mine,
DS.
but that's because I think it bricked itself.
Oh.
So
Ruh-roh.
I just got rid of it.
I got my DS Lite,
We probably
my
could've-
Nintendo
Yeah,
DS
I had a-
3DS.
I had a DS Lite, and then I got a 3DS, and then I saw that it was going to be made redundant, and so I was like, nah, I'm not going to keep this around. I got rid of my Game Boy as well, which I kind of regret, but I don't like having things, so that's me.
You don't
I can
have the
solve
hoarding
that.
gene.
I don't have the
So do you
hoarding
just
gene.
take the things?
Yeah, just give them all to me.
No, I'm not going to. It's... No.
Yes.
It doesn't solve the problem. There's still
Yeah,
too
it just
much
creates
stuff.
it, makes it my problem.
Yeah.
So
no.
how many Donkey Konga Bongo sets do you own?
None.
Oh,
Yes.
well, you're very different to
I also have quite a small wardrobe.
Mm.
And so yes, I'm of the can I pack up in about an hour and just like move. If the answer is no, then I have too much stuff.
Yeah, if you can't survive in your bug out bag.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. We're prepping. Because the world is cursed at 666.
I
Anyway.
nest.
Yeah, same.
I
hoard
Sandbags around the house.
everything.
What else
Bunker
was
down.
What else
Yep.
was on the news poll that you found interesting?
There's the new Simsy game with Simsy Man in charge, but that's probably quite a long way away. What else did we talk about? eShop stuff.
Hamster.
Oh yeah,
It
and
died.
shaming cheaters, which is always fun.
Yeah. Look, it's the news is news. Were there any things coming out that you were particularly excited for?
In the next, there's the Bayonetta Origins, but I haven't finished 3 yet. I mean, it's a very different game, but I'm like, I probably didn't need Bayonettas that close together.
Yeah.
Just in my own. Coming up pretty soon is not in the next week, but that Terra Nil, the sort of strategy game about rejuvenating a polluted landscape.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, Devolver Digital Publishing. Yeah, so that's coming up pretty soon. I'm pretty interested in that. It's always a bunch of little things and there's always Ghostmaster.
Always goes. All right, Paul. How's your Steam Deck going?
Oh, I love it. It's in the bag. You want it during the
can I
break?
play with it? I'm
Of
gonna
course
play
you
with
can.
it. Oh.
So you're listening to Zed Games, is that it?
You're listening to Zed Games.
You're listening to Zed Games.
Hello, you're listening to Zed Games.
You're listening to Zed Games.
You're listening to Zed Games.
You're listening to Zed Games. You're listening to Zed Games.
You're listening to Zed Games.
You're listening to Zed Games.
You're listening to Zed Games.
Perfect. Thank you.
Paul, what are they listening to?
Film Club.
No, you are listening to Zed Games. I'm Rani, and I'm in studio with Caroline and Paul. Hello. I have a book review for you, actually.
That's what I come to the video game show for.
Exactly.
Book
for
review.
Film Club.
Books. The Film Club. Oh gosh darn it. Books are the original video game, of course.
They are indeed. But it is still video game related because this book is roughly video game related, and long-time listeners will know that I do occasionally pull a book review from somewhere, like Ready Player 2, and that
was a
dumpster
book.
fire. Anyway, not to say bad things.
Oh, say bad things. Do it. Do it.
You can listen back to that episode whenever that was. So the book that I'm going to review this evening, is called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Now, you're wondering, how is this book related to video games? Well,
Not really, no.
the two protagonists are game devs. And the whole plot of the book is really about them making their first game and how it gets them really famous, and then the inevitable flop of a second game, and so on and so forth. I was dragged in by the back of the blurb that says, this is not a romance, but it is about love. And I was like, oh, okay, what is this? And then I read on and I thought, it was more about game development and like just these two that were the big game nerds and how they met. They met while they were in hospital because her sister had cancer and he was in a car accident, and they were playing the Oregon Trail, and that really got to me because I played the Oregon Trail as a young child in America.
So the original, not the new version.
No, the original, not the new version.
Brisbane.
Yes, the new version is a Brisbane game, and you should definitely.
So how much of
play
the
that.
book is dedicated to like when Unity gets updated and they have to deal
So
with
part
all
of the
the
book,
changes?
part of the book actually deals with the concept of not using other people's engines and building your own from scratch, and the sort of power dynamic that happens between the main girl and her professor, and how he's sort of like her game dev professor, and how he.
So
It's a bit creepy.
If there's a game dev professor, I'm assuming it's pretty modern day.
No, it's actually set. Well, I mean, I suppose. What do you consider modern?
I'm old, so anytime like 2000 onwards.
No, 90s.
When
It
was there a
starts
game
in
dev
the
professor
90s.
in the 90s? I'm furious.
At MIT, you probably did.
Man,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, so it starts in the 90s, and it's got that Y2K, and it briefly touches on, 9/11 and all of that, because and that swap from single player sort of really big story based level based game to MMORPGs and how they're trying to navigate changing things and all of that. I don't know, it's really enjoyable. It's not so much like, I feel like books like Ready Player One are exactly what you'd think when you go, it's a video game book, like it's a game, or it's a book set in a video game or whatever.
It's pulpy references and action and...
This is, the only sort of references that I've really clued on to in this book are D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. Everything else is made up. Or maybe I think there was a reference to World of Warcraft, but even then, not really. So it just it felt very much its own thing, and like it wasn't trying to just pull references from everywhere.
Yeah, if it's in the 90s as well, that was a particularly... I mean, all times are interesting in game development in phases. So yeah, that's when, that's pre-indie sort of becoming a mainstream thing. So, but, indie was just... as big as most studios were. Most studios were only like 2 to 5 people for a long time, unless you're EA or something, obviously.
Yeah, and then there were, the chapters on whether or not they actually become sellouts when they're promoting their first game, which was really popular. Like, did they take the deal that is gonna give them more money and more fame and all of that, or do they take the deal that seems more in line with their values? And I'm not gonna tell you which one they do. But I really enjoyed, especially as I was reading, how it was cut through with like snippets of them doing interviews later.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, we've reconnected at university, let's make a game. I always wanted to make I really want to make a game with you, sort of thing. And then just going from there, cutting it back and forth was I really liked that, but I'm biased because that's kind of how I'm writing a book.
You love When Harry Met Sally.
I do love When Harry Met Sally. I think I've only seen it once, so sure, I can say that.
Rob Rani used to be great.
No, I'm finding it thoroughly enjoyable. It's also a book that has, so obviously he was in a car accident, that left him with like an actual permanent disability. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed just having the representation of disability in games as well, even though it's not like directly related. It becomes a big point of how they created their characters in their games, which I thought was a brilliant way of showing how your own life impacts the things that you create. But I also enjoyed that both of these characters came from very different cultural backgrounds. Neither of them are like white, if that makes sense. They all have something else. So she's Jewish, and I think there was something else. I can't remember all the facts, and I didn't write it down because that's who I am. And he's
we're not here for facts.
No, we're not here for facts. He's half Korean. So, and then their housemate who just has a lot of money and lets them use his apartment is Japanese and I think Korean as well, or something like that. That might be wrong.
The shortcut. We'll create avenues by having a very rich friend.
Yeah.
I would be interested to look at it from just being, even though it's a fiction in there, it's historical fiction. So how much of the references in there are actually things that were happening at the time, and if anyone like crosses over in reality or anything.
Well, I think the idea is that it is sort of predominantly more fiction than that, and so the historical events that happen in the book are really only mentioned so that you have a sort of idea and a reminder of what time it's actually taking place. So you can't just be like, oh, well, why didn't he just text her? Well, because in 99 people weren't carrying around mobile phones like we do now, because it's very easy to sort of forget that they're game developers. But it's the 90s or it's the early 2000s. Like, it's very easy to forget that because they're so wrapped up. It's not about pop cultural references. It's about their relationships with each other and making the game and what that means for them and how their careers grow and the roads you don't take or the chances you don't take. Because again, they're best friends, and I don't want to spoil it, but I want to talk about it because it's so so important. It's such a, I don't know, it's a topic and a concept that I really, really enjoy. This idea of like, sort of unconditional love, but maybe sometimes realizing too late or those sorts of things, or how we show the people that we love them, in what ways, and why telling your friends that you love them is actually also important, because there's a point where resentment grows because one of them is very open about saying, I love you and all of that, but the other one doesn't. And it's not that they don't love them, it's just that they don't say it because they're wrapped up in all of their own insecurities and everything that's happened to them in their life. And
question.
Yes.
What type of game were they making?
Well, they started with like a single player sort of RPG adventure game.
Mm-hmm.
And then they made a sequel, which
was it a MOBA?
Classic. No.
Okay.
Not at that point, unless it was Snake.
Yeah, no. It was like
if it was Snake, whoa, that would
think what am I thinking of? I think The Witcher, but if it was made in the 90s, I guess.
It's action RPG or
kinda, yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But so, yeah, it just I don't know. Then they did make an MMO RPG, and then sort of went from there. They like grew their little studio, and so they have more people to help make more games. Yeah.
But it's not a love story, but it is about love.
It is about love. You love your friends. There's so much more love than just romantic love.
I tell everyone I love them these days.
Yeah, you got to. Tell your friends you love them.
Not to get too like psychoanalytical and just like how you should behave and everything, but especially when I was a younger man, it's very, very common that all you do is rag on your friends. And we came to a realization one day that all we do is insult each other all day long, and it actually was starting to have a negative impact on how we felt. So we stopped. Not that we never do it, but, we are as positive as we are joking around with each other's flaws.
Yeah.
I think it's important to sometimes reinforce that. So sometimes things should be said.
Yeah. And I think I found it really interesting about how they tried to sort of put themselves and their lives into the games that they were making. I would recommend it. Sort of loosely game related, but if you like games and you like books, you might like it.
If you like things that are loose,
it's not a loose. It's not a loose book. It's not like a wild and loose book. It's just
some quick gymnastics to work out how you can interpret that to be something. My goose is totally loose.
How funky is your chicken?
Okay, I think we're gonna listen to
tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow
and tomorrow and tomorrow.
Yes. Well, the title is the idea that you can relive that thing tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. You have endless lives. You don't always have endless lives. Depends on what game you're playing. But in their games, you had endless lives. So yeah, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And it just keeps going.
Recurring.
Yep. Anyway, well, you have a review for us? I
do. I'm going to talk about the game Birth, which just came out about a week ago. First saw it...
Is it the prequel to Life?
Well, yes, and then... I lost where I was going to go with the joke. I was going to go, and then After Birth, but no, we already did prequel, and then I'm like, now I've got myself in a corner. The prequel
digging yourself a grave.
Yes,
even.
Exactly. Okay, let's reset. So Birth is a simple game by solo developer Madison Carr. Birth gives us a simple task of finding a friend. Sorry, not finding, building out of bones and organs. Bones and organs you find scattered around your town. It doesn't seem particularly unusual in this world, however, as it's populated with humanoid figures with sort of hollowed out animal skulls for heads. If you think about in Beetlejuice when Alec Baldwin pulls his face down and he's got that sort of big open skull, that's what you're going to expect in here. But the art style's a bit more like almost Wes Anderson twee. It's very friendly, but it's very lonely. This game, in part, is inspired by loneliness of the pandemic. But whilst that's definitely an inspiration of it, I would have to say that beyond this base concept and then sort of a resolution that happens, there's not a lot of detail in story. It's more about feelings and just giving you weird, surreal situations. It is essentially a puzzle game. You get a whole bunch of areas in this town, like you go into the bookshop, or you go into a cafe, or any sort of location, and in there will be a bunch of small puzzles, and when you complete all those puzzles, you get another bone or another organ to build your new friend. What this means is it's very casual. I, like most things I play now, played it on my Steam Deck. It worked fine. It's computer only at the moment, however. So the thing about puzzle games like this is that I do somewhat reject the concept of them being puzzle games, because puzzle to me means that it's more of a process of thinking through a larger whole. While games like this, I think more of toys. So there's a lot of like returning things to places they should be. Like there's an aquarium and all the fish are missing, and you go and collect one for each things. And like making up a puzzle, there might be a bunch of flies flying around, and they got some fly paper hanging from the roof at different lengths. And it's like, oh well, if I just put each fly in the right at the end of each piece of paper, then that solved that little puzzle. So it's not really about like working out a thing. It's about playing with a little device and seeing like, okay, what can I do with it, and what's the solution here? If you've seen there's a game A Little to the Left, a little bit like where it's like, oh, I'm just kind of organizing things and getting it through. Even when it gets to more puzzly stuff, like there are some Tangram style puzzles, I hit them like first time, which made me go, I bet there's just multiple solutions to this and it's really lax. Because it's not about taxing you, it's about putting you in this surreal environment, which is quite macabre, but friendly about it. Like, you might find bits of you need inside a rotting rat, but the rat's like kind of nicely taxidermy style and in this nice art style. So it's not really confronting. I know I was showing it to you before, Caroline, and there were spiders, and you're not a big fan of the spiders.
It didn't like the way it moved. It moved a bit too...
It's like, I think if you're like, if you like, Tim Burton-y Wes Anderson, which is
yes, my favorite too.
Yeah, those two, you know how they're always crossing over. It's probably more in there. It's quite a short game, and really, there's not a lot else to say about it other than being like pleasant, short, and it's a non-taxing time, which meant this is going to be a short review. So it reminded me of another game. So I'm going to review another game. Okay, that was Birth. The other game I was going to talk about is a game called My Lovely Daughter. Now, this game's got some meat to it. Years ago, I think probably about 2 years ago, I was...
Does this have anything to do with your actual daughter?
No, not my real daughter. And God, no, when you hear more about what this game is. So I already owned this game, and I was looking through my Steam list with a friend. Like, what's this? Let's just start it up and see. I'm sure it's crap, but whatever.
That's a great way to have a Steam library.
Oh, yeah. And it's not. So it's quite interesting. So you play Faust, who, anyone named that name, you're going to expect some things from. And you've woken up, it's an amnesia thing, blah, blah, blah. And there in your home, which is a bit of a laboratory, is your daughter dead. But next to it is a ball with her soul in it. Now, this whole game is a management simulator where you have to make homunculi to feed to the soul. So you make all these daughters. So you go, oh, well, I'll get a bunch of wood, put that together, I'll make this little wood girl. And it's great. And, and we can send her out on tasks to get me money and resources to make other homunculi, and you can have, it's either 5 or 6 at once. And I mean at once because the way you get the soul out of them is sacrificing them. It is like a very sort of sketchy, dark art style, closer to like an Edward Gorey sort of style to it. But it is, like, they don't want to be killed. It is a dark story that this goes through, and you've got to experiment and find different combinations and get affinities and build relationships with them and then still sacrifice to try and get your daughter back. There was a sequel made called My Lovely Wife, which I didn't like as much. The art was like a bit better, and I didn't like it being better. I liked it being a bit rough. And that's with your wife and there's succubi. So it gets a little bit weird because you're sort of prostituting them out. I'm like, I just prefer killing children.
Say that again.
Yeah, I just prefer killing children. But it was actually like both very confronting, But then once you're into the zone of it, it's like, quite Edward Gorey-ish in that, like, so it's a really surprising little management sim, which I'm sure you could pick up for nothing these days. Released
there's
by
always
Togi.
sales going on too.
Oh, yeah.
So.
But it's a really surprising, really unique game that's actually quite satisfying as a management game, which I don't really do with it. Basically, you're just experimenting with different recipes and then sending your girls out to do jobs around the town, and they've got affinities and everything.
Thank you, Paul.
You
really took the 666 being the devil's number.
I thought I'd get some of it
side of this episode, where I was like, literally in the Discord, I was like, we're not going to take that approach. And then here we are.
I thought some macabre.
You can get My Lovely Daughter on Switch.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I didn't know they had the Switch port.
Even 666 as an angel number is about things not being quite right around you, so you should probably change them. I don't know. On the other show that I do, we occasionally encounter angel numbers, and we like to talk about them on air.
Oh.
We had a particularly interesting episode with the number 3. Yes. So, other such things. Repeating numbers are lots of fun, and I'm very happy I got to do 666 when I saw
like the alliteration of numbers.
Yes, it is. It is. I'm sure there's a word for that, and I feel like I should know it. But I think that's it for tonight. So we're going to say bye. I'm Rani, you are
Paul.
And you are
Caroline.
And this is Zed Games.
And,
we love you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Thanks
and
for
we're
listening.
Gonna say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Zed Games.
If you'd like to listen to more, check out our podcast on Spotify.
Or follow us on social media at ZED Games AU.
See you next time.